This movie seems like it's gonna take a darker tone from the get and maintain that throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be an interesting to see how that like pans out. Reed Richards being like,
did
what
you
have you
do
done?
this?
Did you do this?
Yeah, Reed seems
horrific.
horrified.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin Feige, hot or not?
Hot or not?
Hot or
Kevin
not?
Feige?
Would you smash? YN, Kevin
I
Feige.
smash?
Kevin Feige shows up at your house. He says, he's wearing a, okay, all right, here's the Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Breakroom. I'm Alex Berg. This is Brian Kim. We're going to talk about some stuff. Plus, a lot of you left good comments on last week's vid, and so we'll respond to some of those as well.
Sorry, my mic was all the way over there. I was talking.
Now,
hello.
I was going to say, but before we came on camera, we were doing some positive self-affirmations. What we've come down on is that Brian has good thoughts, and I have a nice smile.
It's true.
But I would
It's
like
true.
to... For the viewers at home to appreciate the smile I was making on the monitor when this came up. Ready?
That's great. Look at that. That's a guy full of joy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
ready
yeah.
to talk about Marvel.
Yeah, we're ready to talk about Comic-Con and all the rest.
Comic-Con?
Yeah, I mean, normally we start off with a weekend catch-up, but we were both here all weekend.
Exactly, yeah.
Have you... I mean, I know that yesterday was kind of more of a work day for you than it was for me. Do you feel recovered at this point, or are you still kind of just in like the working groove?
I feel pretty recovered. Comic-Con was pretty nuts.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Our stream was going crazy. If you guys missed the stream, we did stream on the New Rockstars New Rockstars channel.
30,000 concurrents.
30,000 concurrents.
A lot.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Not
a
gonna
lot.
lie, pretty impressive. We did some shenanigans. We had like a roulette of doom.
Yep.
We severely underestimated how quickly we're going to get through that stuff.
Yeah, so this is, one of the things when you're live streaming is like, on YouTube, people can send in super chats and you want to incentivize that, but also make sure people aren't just like tossing their money into the void. You want to give them, you want to make it worth their while. And so we set up this wheel of doom that was like, well, for every $50, we'll spin this wheel and there will be a reward. Yeah. And then immediately these two guys, Crazy Alan and Kevin, who's the second half of his name looks Serbian or something, I can't pronounce it, started vying for the top spot.
Yeah.
And within 15 minutes, we had spun the wheel like 1,000 times. I had chugged a Biro and eaten wasabi and had like wasabi on the hot chicken.
It was
Like
Dave's hot chicken.
Yeah.
Granted, we didn't get Reaper hot because that would have killed us.
Yeah.
But we got the second hottest.
It was pretty hot.
Still hot.
And with wasabi on top of it, and extra like...
And you had gas from the Bureau.
Not a good
time.
I can't burp, so chugging those Bureaus really killed me. I mean...
But yeah, if any of you guys were there, thank you for showing up. We plan to do more of that kind of stuff on a New Rockstars Live, especially for D23 that's coming up soon.
Yes, very soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of and then Sunday, I think I just stared at a wall for like most of the day,
That's so funny.
Was just totally zonked out. Played some Elden Ring. I've got an Elden Ring playthrough going right now.
Let's go.
That was Saturday night getting home from the stream. My wife was like, you want to play Elden Ring? I was like, yes, I do. And so the two of us sat down. We beat Godric the Grafted. We're exploring Liurnia, however it's pronounced. We're in good shape now.
Nice. I also had some gaming happening this weekend. But for me, it was Splatoon Raiders.
How are you liking that?
I'm really digging it.
Yeah?
I'm really digging it. I'm like a huge Splatoon fan.
Yeah.
I love Splatoon as a game. And I've always thought that it had potential to be more than just the regular multiplayer shooter.
Yeah.
It had, if you played any of the single player stuff, and especially this DLC called Octo Expansion for Splatoon 2, it really showed the potential for Splatoon to be like a puzzle platformer as well.
Oh, cool.
And so there's a lot of fun things that they can do with single player that they're really utilizing in Splatoon Raiders because it's a single player game.
Yeah.
It's like a looter shooter where you like collect things by shooting like different enemies, and you collect stuff to build your base and build your weapons. But also they have these like side dungeons that test your skill with other like weapons they have.
Oh.
It's super fun.
That sounds way more up my alley because I played a little bit of Splatoon 2. A friend of mine's daughter got it when she was like, 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, they only have one Switch, but she wanted to play it multiplayer with people. So he was like, well, you get it so we can play it with you.
Right.
And I'm not like huge on shooters to start with, but I thought that paint mechanic was like just such a cool, weird, inventive thing. I honestly, this review of yours right now makes me go like, maybe I will check out.
It's honestly because it has. I think one of the things that single player lacked in terms of the like original games is that because the story mode was basically a tutorial of how to play, you had to play with the current base mechanics of everything. But because this is just a single player game, they have like actual progression, like leveling up. You could change the ways that your different weapons work. They have side weapons that you can upgrade, change different abilities and whatnot. And so if you're more of like a single player person, I think this game is the entryway into Splatoon if you're into it.
Interesting. I'm curious. Yeah.
And then because it's a side game, it's not the full price of a game. It's a $49, $50 game, which it's not bad. I think it's well worth it.
Now, I do want to, you explaining this to me reminded me of a comment. I'm gonna call this comment the gentle roast of the week.
Okay.
I mean, this is high praise. We got a comment from Scooby Snackies on last week's YouTube video. No time code, so I don't know what specifically we were talking about when this came up. But they wrote, and again, this is Scooby Snackies. They wrote, "This shot is giving immense. I'm telling my dad about my interest, and he's trying his best to relate energy." And it's just, it's so funny to me, man.
I don't know about dad.
I love that. I love it.
I don't think you could be my dad.
Quiet child. What? Yeah. I also, we'll get to Marvel Hall H. It's like, I also just want to pinch off the Odyssey conversation a little bit, because I came on here last week and said I enjoyed the Odyssey, but I felt nothing watching it. I have no interest in contributing to kind of the toxic, how dare they not make everybody, look like a Swede discourse around it. But we got a couple comments. One from Tanner the Manor, saying Odyssey was amazing. Don't succumb to the narrative. This film is bad due to casting choices, which were all great, by the way. The hate is totally undeserved. I wanted to use that to launch into two things I heard from Greek scholars this past week. These scholars didn't reach out to me. I was watching them on YouTube. But Mary Beard making the point about Lupita Nyong'o's character specifically, that like in the Iliad, there's a king called Memnon, who's from Ethiopia specifically. And so like, her point was, it is absolutely the case that Homer would have been writing this with Black Ethiopians in mind as part of the cast of characters.
Right.
And then I saw a second scholar who was making the point that they were like, well, not only is half of the Mediterranean world Africa by definition, but he was like, and I wish I could remember this guy's name because I love this point. He was like, in the poem, Helen's mother is a swan. So like, like, are you really mad because they didn't cast someone who's half swan?
True.
Like, I love these like people who are experts on the text pointing to these chuds and going like, hey, I think you're not really upset about the Odyssey.
No.
I think you're just racist.
100%.
Yes.
They're using it as a way to get their point in.
Yes.
Which
fuck you.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
We also got a comment from Abby4586 responding to something Brian said. Brian had made a point about how everybody was very recognizable because big high octane cast. And Abby4586 said, Brian, you just gave me an idea about the casting. I'm wondering if Nolan wanted a bunch of big stars because the characters in the Odyssey were also stars. Like everyone knows Odysseus, Athena, Penelope, Helen, etc.
Yeah.
So maybe it's kind of a mirror to that. And I think that was pretty much what you were saying, right?
Kind of. Basically that, and just the fact that I think it being a star-studded cast made it, at least to me, a bit more clear. This is like a theatrical play. Like it's a play. It's a fiction.
Yeah.
And you're not, at least for me, I don't think you're really supposed to feel like you're actually in there. It is more like
you're watching it from a little bit of a remove.
Yeah.
You think
it's
that
a
distance
legend.
is intentional?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think you could tell an Odyssey like more directly from the first person point of view of like Odysseus or something like that, where he's like traveling through all these places. But just the way the story is told, I think it's kind of intentionally like it's kind of like you're experiencing a legend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that for sure, where it's like, even like, you know, if you think back to the way you would have interacted with the Odyssey in, you know, 7th century BC Greece or whatever, you know, like you're at a taverna.
Yeah.
You know, like you're probably drinking beer or something or wine, you know, and there's just a guy going like, hey, by the way, this happened.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I also want to just generally shout out the Instagram reels because the one reel that popped off on Instagram was you saying your take about the Odyssey.
That you
felt nothing. Which, again, I want to reiterate, doesn't mean that, you know, it's a bad movie. It's just emotionally connected. It was not
I thought it was really well made. I just felt nothing watching it.
But I guess that opinion resonated a lot with some people on like Instagram because the comments, I've never seen a reel get so many comments.
Really?
It's at like 500 comments right now. And like comparatively to everything else, it's crazy.
It's so funny because, you know, I'm not on social media. Brian gives me updates on what's going on with our social media feed, but he is absolutely the one doing the lion's share of the work there. But it's so funny because I have like, you know, a close friend of mine who I've known for 20 something years, and we have very similar taste and stuff. And I told him that review, and he was like, yeah. It's like, okay, yeah. You know, like that's my echo chamber. It's just someone going like, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, should we get into some Comic-Con news?
Yeah, I mean that was the big thing this week.
That's the big schlemazel from the past week. The whole chimichanga. I guess let's work our way up to Hall H.
Okay.
So prior to Comic-Con actually beginning, we got a couple of trailers. I believe we talked about the Avengers Doomsday trailer here last week. We'll talk more about Doomsday momentarily based on the news from Comic-Con when we get to Hall H. But shortly after the Doomsday trailer came out, DC released a Clayface trailer.
Yeah.
I think the Clayface trailer looks awesome.
Yeah. It looks properly scary.
Yes.
Like it looks horrific.
It looks like a Cronenberg movie.
Yeah. And like because it's like a body horror movie, I think it's giving that cringe feeling of like seeing that kind of stuff happen. Not cringing like bad, but cringing in a way that's like, oh my God, like the scene where his eyes get kind of melded together.
On the plane?
Oh, and so he has to use a pair of scissors. Like, it doesn't show it, but he's going to cut open his eyelids. I'm like, that's going to be crazy.
Dude, you want to hear
some be crazy.
You want to hear some freaky shit?
Okay.
So last week, some of you might notice, and I think you can't really tell this week, but like I had like a blood vessel just pop in my eye, and like the whites of my eye just turned blood red. The first time that happened to me, there was like a bubble of blood under that like exterior membrane of my eye, and it was big enough that blinking was hard.
Whoa.
And so this was during the pandemic when I was like big on frontier medicine. I was like, I can't go to a clinic, I'll die, you know, like I better take care of this myself. And so I took a pair of sharp tweezers and tried to pop the blood vessel, but in the process just grabbed that external membrane and tugged on it. And it hurt. It didn't hurt that bad. It was a distinctly unpleasant feeling.
Sure.
And so watching the Clayface trailer, I was
that's real empathy.
Yeah, I was like, I get it, bud. Something's wrong with your eye. You got to take care of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was not good. I don't recommend doing it at all.
Yeah.
At all. Don't ever try that. But it was a different time. It was a pandemic. You know, we were all a little more desperate, a little more hungry.
100%. Eye stuff is also just generally so...
Yeah, it's bad.
It's
really triggering for me.
It's really cringe-inducing.
But, you know, I think something with the Clayface trailer that I'm really responding to, and this is also the case with the Lanterns trailer, which we'll get to in a minute, is for as much as Marvel movies do have different directors, and there are ways in which the directors leave their imprints on things, you know, a Taika Waititi Marvel movie has a very distinct tone from a Russo brothers Marvel movie, you know, but Marvel has such a house style, and everybody's kind of working within those constraints. Clayface is really exciting to me because it seems like DC is actively going like, nope, this movie needs to be this tone for this character, and it's so different from Superman or Supergirl or anything else. And I'm really excited to see how that kind of opens up DC projects in the future.
Yeah. I'm going to say something that might be controversial.
Hell yeah, go for it.
I really like how DC is trying to make their different movies have like different feeling, like different genres. James Gunn has specifically said that it's going to be that story specifically, like Clayface needed to be horror, so it's going to be horror. I actually don't think that it's going to work out for the greater DCU in general because of that. I think the different tones is going to make it really difficult to understand how all the worlds piece together. I know that comics do this all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Different comics have completely different tones. But the medium of comics, I think, allow you to connect those disparate things more easily.
Yeah.
Because it's just so abstracted that you're like, okay.
Film is a very literal medium.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because it's so literal, I think it's going to create a bit of a dissonance watching something like Clayface. And it's like, okay, so this is the same world as Superman. This is the same world as Supergirl and whatever the DCU Lanterns. Like even the DCU Lanterns, we'll talk about later, I'm really excited for. But I'm like, so Peacemaker is in the same world as that, which is in the same world as Guy Gardner, who's like a hilarious character in Superman, but is a more grounded, serious take. And this, it's ultimately fine, but I think it might be a less cohesive thing other than unlike the MCU.
I hear that. I hear what you're saying. Now, my follow-up question would be, okay, maybe the separate tonal categories, I guess you'd say genres, probably more better to say, of Clayface and Superman creates a little bit of dissonance, makes it hard for those two things to meet up. Does Clayface need to meet up with the rest of the DCU, both for Clayface's sake and the DCU's sake, in your opinion?
I guess not.
Yeah.
It doesn't. This is like a Clayface origin story.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't really need to. That movie doesn't necessarily need to have a lot of impact in the greater DCU. And it's funny because I think the irony is that I think this way of making DC movies might make for better individual movies.
Yeah.
But as a cohesive universe, it's probably not going to connect as well.
Yeah.
So it's like a give and take. Like, would you rather have better singular movie experiences or a better whole experience? Up to the user, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, I'm always gonna default to better single movie experience with the huge asterisk that, like, again, I will be a broken record and go to bat for Endgame all day long.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you get something like, Age of Ultron, which, Scarlet Witch makes Thor go through this like nightmare sequence. And then that's like why he goes off to find Surtur for Ragnarok. And
Right.
I remember even at the time when I was like, second Avengers movie, like, maybe not like my peak Marvel obsession, but certainly close to it. I remember even at the time going like, man, if you guys wanted to show me a trailer for a different movie, you could have just put out a trailer and I would have watched it. So,
Right.
like that stacking up of things into a coherent cinematic universe really only works if each piece has a need to exist in and of itself.
Sure.
Not just on a movie level, but even on a scenic level. Those bumps really take you out of it. So I am like super stoked for Clayface. I don't really care if it builds up into anything else. I kind of just want to see like a really solid, weird take on a horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about on the DC train, and it's next in the prompter anyway, so there you go. One of the things I was most excited by from Comic-Con this past weekend was the new trailer for Lanterns.
Yeah.
And whereas previous trailers for Lanterns had gotten some flack, I didn't feel this way, but a lot of the people in the comments did, that there wasn't enough green. We're not showing off the Green Lanterns, kind of harkening back to this like, hey, don't be embarrassed to be a superhero property kind of thing. This Lanterns trailer, we get Manhunters and Sinestro and a ton of green. Like, so how did you feel watching this Lanterns trailer? How did it change your expectations or excitement for the show?
I think it completely changed my expectations. I was still excited for what they were going to do with Lanterns because I thought a crime procedural type thing with lanterns was still going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess like the powers will be kind of like incidental or just like a little bit here and there. But this trailer is like, oh, this is going to be a superhero show.
Yeah.
This is a superhero show.
Yeah.
Like, don't get it twisted. It's not going to be mostly a cop show with like or detective show with a little bit of powers. It's going to be about superpowers, aliens, manhunters, all that stuff. And so I am reinvigorated to watch this show. I'm like, okay, they're not afraid to be fully superpowered.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate a lot. I guess my question for like the marketing campaign is like, I'm wondering why they even started like small like that if the show was going to be this powered thing anyway.
Well, so here I talked about this a little bit when the first trailer came out, but my theory is DC and Marvel are both right now in a little bit of a reset phase. DC more aggressively because, they really had to like aggressively close the chapter on the Snyderverse and, boot up the James Gunn DCU. Marvel a little bit less so because they had to close the book on Kang, but they're still keeping a lot of the continuity. But I think the marketing team kind of recognizes that everybody's a little bit tentative. There was a time when Marvel was ascendant where you could put out a movie like Guardians with characters nobody really knew, and have it still make $1 billion and people be really excited about it. You could put out a Moon Knight TV series and have it be huge. We're not in that phase anymore, for better or worse. And so I think DC kind of knew, hey, if this is going to be an HBO show, we need to market it like an HBO show. It needs to look like True Detective. It needs to look like Mare of Easttown. It needs to look like Task. And because the people who are diehard Green Lantern fans are going to check it out regardless. In the same way that, like, I would check out X-Men 97 if there was never a trailer. If they were just like, hey, by the way, we dropped 8 episodes of X-Men 97 last week, I'd be like, oh, hot damn. I'm an elder millennial. I must go see, like.
Yeah.
And so I think what DC was trying to do is be like, hey, if we can make a trailer that sells this show without any superhero stuff, that's going to bring in a lot of the fence sitters, a lot of the casuals, a lot of the people who might just watch whatever's on HBO on Sunday nights.
Sure.
And then once people already accept it as being like a solid show without the trappings of genre and comic book stuff, then we can add that stuff on and they'll be a little bit more willing to accept it. That's my kind of deconstruction of the marketing logic of it.
I guess so.
I don't know if that's accurate or if that makes any sense, but
yeah, I guess the first couple trailers were more like, here's the vibe, here's like what you can expect. And this being the trailer they released with Comic-Con, it's like, this is for the comic fans.
Yes.
This is for the ones who are like, here's all the powers that you've been wanting.
Yeah.
I'm still, time will tell if this technique like worked into getting the like casuals in versus the core audience. But either way, I am really excited for this show.
Absolutely.
It seems a lot of fun.
It looks so good. It looks really good. And yeah, I'm reminded a little bit of like, this is maybe a wonky analogy, but when like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and World's End were coming out, one of the things I think Edgar Wright did so well in those movies is they would be not genre parodies, but like genre homages, but like Hot Fuzz is a solid action movie on top of being a comedy. Shaun of the Dead is a solid zombie movie and a rom-com, like you could take the zombies away, it would still work. You could take the comedy away, it would still work, and so the whole is greater than some of its parts. And my hope is that what Lanterns is going to be is a solid prestige TV show and a solid superhero TV show, that's what I think they're going for. So we'll see. Other trailers we got in the hours leading up to Marvel's Hall H. We got a new trailer for Wolverine's for Insomniac's Wolverine game, which looks rad as hell.
It looks super good.
I'm so stoked on this game. I mean, I don't really. There's a couple things in this trailer that got me particularly stoked. There's a clip where it looks like, and I believe I read something from one of the developers that confirmed this. Where, in a lot of these games where you have a companion, in God of War, it's like you can use Atreus or Freya or whatever to kind of team up attacks. It looks like you'll get to do that with Sabretooth.
Yeah.
Which looks awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks so cool.
I think all the like the team attack stuff that you can do in this game that they showed off already with Jean and now Sabretooth, like that looks super fun to do.
Yes.
Like your companions feel more like part of the games rather than, because I think sometimes companions feel like they're just like randomly throwing out something or like
they're there more just for like bark dialogue and but this feels like it's a little bit more incorporated.
Yeah, it looks super good.
Yeah.
It looks like they're doing a lot. They're really pushing the Logan and Jean Grey like romance in this, at least in this trailer.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is like, do the X-Men exist as we know it in this world, or like is Cyclops in the picture, or do you think this is like primarily Jean Grey, Wolverine as a couple? Like this universe has them as a couple.
You know, I can't tell, and for as much as I've read about the game, I can't remember what I've read that is like speculative or what is confirmed.
Right.
So I don't want to pollute the airwaves with misinformation.
No, polluted.
Based on a hunch.
This is what a podcast is about.
Yeah,
misinformation.
Okay. However, it's a misinformation warning. You know, bottom of the screen. I believe I read somewhere that the X-Men do not exist yet in this universe.
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not that's true. You know, certainly it seems like Jean is going around protecting mutants.
Yeah.
I did read a quote from one of the devs after the most recent trailer came out saying that like, well, because Jean can pass as human, you know, until she uses her powers, she feels a particular responsibility to protect the mutants who can't, which is part of why we see her protecting Leech in the most recent trailer. Also, you know, just to harken back to the convo about discs a couple weeks ago, there was a trailer, a story trailer for Wolverine that came out like a week before this most recent Comic-Con trailer where he's chasing a picture of his long lost love. I'm blanking on the name.
Right.
And all the comments were like, that's me chasing a physical release of Wolverine. Like, just kudos to everybody on the internet for being like, oh, Sony, you think it's impactful that he can't catch this physical media?
So funny.
Like, I just, you know, and it's got to be such a bummer if you're on the Insomniac team, because that choice to discontinue physical discs is happening so far removed from anybody in that office, and certainly so far removed from anybody on the marketing team. Be like, yeah, man, we crunched all week to get this trailer together. Let's go see how people are responding. And everyone's
it's
just like,
about the
fuck
Sony
you.
thing.
Yeah, it's just
even in, I think, the story trailer, the top like 50 comments are just like, wow, can't wait to play this on my physical CD.
Yes.
And then it's like, me.
Well, and you know what's crazy? And then just in the past week, I believe as we're taping right now, it might be resolved at this point, but there was an Xbox network downage that affected everybody with digital games who needed to log on to play them for like Game Pass or whatever. And Sony had an outage. PlayStation Plus had an outage last week. So it's like, you know, particularly bad timing. One, bad timing, like the world's tiniest violin for Microsoft and Sony, you know. But it's particularly bad timing to already be like, you guys don't need physical games, and then have your network that everyone's supposed to rely on all of a sudden like crap out on you. But anyways, I don't mean to pile on to distracting from what looks like an awesome video game by, you know, harping on the platform choices. But I do think one of the other things with the new Wolverine trailer that came out of Comic-Con is there's a lot looked like it was set in Tokyo.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Lady Deathstrike, who looked like her X-Men 97 version almost, with like the cyborg enhancements more so than the Weapon X program claws. And just, you know, I don't care if you're just showing off the hardware specs. I'm not like big on specs, but I do love it when a video game looks good. And the part in Tokyo where it's like wet at night and everything's like reflective just looked fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I
also think I noticed when you're teaming up with Sabretooth, I think they're wearing the the like X Factor, or what was it, the X-Force uniform. So it looks like the game is like kind of throughout the timeline of Wolverine, not just whatever slice we are in the modern era. It'll be whatever in the past, his relationship with Sabretooth, relationship with Lady Deathstrike, and then now the current era where he's trying to save mutants.
Well, and there's also a shot in the most recent trailer where he's kind of like staring at a weird glowing blue door. And I read a quote in one of these, articles, like, compiling all like the dev interviews and stuff, where it was one of the devs saying like, Wolverine's mind is fragmented. So I wonder if part of the game might be hopscotching through these memories, trying to kind of assemble a narrative as Wolverine and unlocking new parts of that narrative, which could be an interesting technique. I'm really kind of like, of two minds on it, because on the one hand, I love it when there's like a weirdo level in a game, in I believe it was Arkham Asylum, when you like kind of first run into Scarecrow and it makes you think your PlayStation's died.
Oh, right.
And then in the Spider-Man games, anytime there's like a weird Mysterio level, the best part of those in the Spider-Man games are the Black Cat portal chase when she steals the sling ring or whatever from the Sanctum Sanctorum. But I love it when a game uses the medium of game to do something that would be maybe you could do on film, but it wouldn't give you that like adrenaline rush of being in it. And so if they're going to use Wolverine's kind of fractured mind as a way to have some of those like weirdo level designs, I'm all for it.
Yeah. That feels like what they're trying to like aim towards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one more detail I liked was, I think I also read somewhere that this takes place in the same universe as the Spider-Man games.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
10358. I blank on the numbers. I think, but yes, it is in the same universe.
Which I think makes sense then, that there is no current X-Men, at least in the lore of this universe, because things are happening in New York and X-Men are usually in New York. So it's like, where are they the whole time? Like, they weren't there. I think like with the Spider-Man games where they had like interesting new takes on like different characters, I'm excited to see a different take on like the X-Men, how they came to be, or Wolverine specifically. What is Wolverine when he doesn't have to do a love triangle with Cyclops? We'll see.
Another thing, we were talking about this a little bit during the Comic-Con stream on Thursday or whenever the Insomniac panel was, but one of the things Insomniac did so well with the Spider-Man games was traversal, which I think is it's really easy to overlook traversal. When a game has mediocre traversal, you tend not to notice. When it has good traversal, it makes the whole gameplay experience better. Riding Torrent in Elden Ring is easily some of the best horse mechanics compared to like riding a horse in Red Dead, which is like so complicated, or even the horse in Shadow of the Colossus, which I think is a phenomenal game. The horse mechanics suck.
Sure.
And in Spider-Man, the traversal mechanics are great. They really nailed a way to make your controller movements feel in line with Spidey web slinging. And I read something in one of these articles about the trailer where they were saying they really focused on making Wolverine feel heavy and chunky because he's got that metal skeleton. Yeah. And so I'm also excited to see, one of the underappreciated features of the PS5 controller is the way the shoulder buttons like kind of push back on you, and in games where they use it, Horizon Forbidden West, for instance, you can really feel the tension on a bow or something like that.
Right.
It's really interesting. And I wonder if there will be something like that with the claws. It's a very claw forward game. Yeah. It has to be for sake of Wolverine. So I'm just, I was already excited for this game. I'm even more excited for it now. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm infuriated. I am infuriated that I have to leave the country the day it comes out.
Oh no!
I was like, well, maybe it comes out the day before I leave. And then when this most recent trailer, I went and checked my plane tickets. It was like, no, I'm going to be on a plane to Germany the morning it comes out. Anyways, if you're going to be in Germany in September, come see an improv show. But fun. But yeah, it's like all I want to do is play Wolverine.
You gotta call your team, like, hey, sorry guys, Wolverine's happening. Can't make it.
I know they already reimbursed us for the plane tickets, but we have to drop out. Okay, well, let's get to Marvel's Hall H presentation. The big three things out of Hall H, and we can quibble about what I'm missing or what I'm saying is not a big deal, but arguably the big three things are Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider, David Johnson as Black Panther, or as T'Challa, with a Black Panther 3 release date of December 2028. And then the new Doomsday trailer that Marvel dropped just a week after dropping their first formal theatrical trailer prior to Comic-Con. One of the conversations leading up to Marvel's Hall H panel was, holy crap, if they dropped their Doomsday trailer on Monday, what are they holding in the chamber for Saturday? Do you think Marvel's Hall H panel brought the goods?
Overall, I think so. I think they did what they needed to without spoiling too much of the future. I think because so I'll speak for myself and maybe some of the people on the panel, where a lot of us were expecting some X-Men news or Secret War news.
Yeah.
And I think it, because we're like, what's going to be, if they drop the Doomsday trailer, it's going to go crazy at Comic-Con. But in retrospect, I think it makes sense because Secret Wars is going to be next year, end of next year. So they'll have the next Comic-Con to really like push that. And since X-Men is beyond that, it makes sense for them to wait a little bit for that as well. There's no need to push everything at once. And I think Marvel in general has learned their lesson that if they think too far ahead or announce too many things too far ahead, then we're bound to be disappointed when things move around.
Yeah.
A la Blade, for example, the biggest example.
Yes.
But I think they had enough big hitters and big information that it was satisfying to me. One of them being Ghost Rider, specifically Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Because a few weeks ago or something, there was that clip where him and is it Josh Horowitz?
I think so, yeah.
They had a little interview where he was like, "Are you gonna be Ghost Rider?" And Ryan Gosling's like, I don't know. I'm trying.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to listen to, look at that in retrospect. Because I'm like, at the time when I first watched it, I'm like, dang, he really wants Ghost Rider, but it's not happening. But now I'm like, oh, he's lying there.
Yeah.
He's straight up lying. It's like, it's your fault that I'm not getting it.
Yeah. Gosling's also so charming that I'm like, oh, okay, you saucy little minx, lie to me,
It was, I think that was one of the big excitement points in the live as well, when we're like, oh, Ryan Gosling Ghost Rider. We're like, whoa. Do you think Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider fits as the character?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think Drive is in some ways a Ghost Rider movie already. You know what I mean? I'm pretty in the tank on Gosling. I think he's really talented. He's infuriatingly talented for a guy who's so good looking. You know what I mean? Like if he were just a pretty boy, you'd be like, oh, fucking pretty boy. But he's like a pretty boy, and he's very charming, and he's genuinely funny. Like, in Nice Guys, there's a bit of physical comedy where he's like, kicking open a bathroom door stall and dropping a lit cigarette in his lap, and it's
Sure.
He's so funny. And then he was in a band called Dead Man's Bones. I think this is pre-Drive.
Oh.
And I went and saw them do a live show, I don't know, in Glendale or Pasadena or something. And part of the show is they brought up a local high school kids choir. And half the show was him really genuinely encouraging these shy kids to get up and rap into the microphone or show off their talent. And it was just, he was just a nice dude.
Yeah.
So I'm always rooting for Gosling. I do think it's great casting as Ghost Rider in a vacuum. Even if I wasn't rooting for him, I think just if all he had done was Drive and Place Beyond the Pines, you'd be like, yeah, this guy is Ghost Rider.
I see.
I think with Marvel's panel overall, though, some people online are disappointed, as if Kevin Feige said he'd make me a sandwich and all I got was a bowl of soup. It's
bowl of soup is pretty yummy.
Yeah, it depends on the soup. But I'm not up in arms about it the way some people online are. I just, whatever, everyone's entitled to feel how they feel, but I'm not up in arms about it. I do think there is some validity to the disappointment, though, because in releasing the Doomsday trailer earlier in the week and having all these like Latvian witch, like costume changes at the panel during the week and these slow reveals, Marvel certainly led people to believe, or at least provided the breadcrumbs to make it reasonable for people to believe that there would be some kind of very big bit of Doomsday news at this panel on Saturday.
Yeah.
They did release a new Doomsday trailer, which leaked online. I did watch the leak. The quality is trash. I kind of wish I hadn't watched it, but I was like, well, I gotta know.
Yeah.
But Marvel did certainly lead people to believe there would be some news that was justifying, this kind of buildup. I don't know if there was. Releasing some casting news and a release date for a movie is the sort of thing that is normally handled in a standard press release.
Right.
And in Hall H's in the past, Marvel has had people come out in character. They've had these big dramatic reveals, these kinds of things that sort of justify the in-person feeling of it. I don't think that was there this week or this past week. I am excited for Ghost Rider. I am excited for Black Panther 3. I think David Johnson is incredible casting choice.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's phenomenal. But it didn't really rise to the level of and it justifies all these people wearing diapers and sleeping outside for 2 days to get into the panel. Like imagine, first off, nobody is making anybody wait in line in the San Diego heat to go to Hall H. That's a real choice. However, it is a choice born of a real fandom and devotion that I don't want to minimize. If you waited in the heat for a day and a half to get into Hall H and it was just casting news and a release date, I think your disappointment would be warranted. And so I'm not that disappointed, but I do appreciate the people who are, I guess is my point.
I also remember when we were live streaming, some people in chat were saying that there was also some kind of Doom countdown happening throughout Comic-Con for Doomsday or something. And, having a countdown of anything makes it feel like something's going to pop.
Yes. Something's
going to happen. And again, there were some good news. It just wasn't at the caliber that maybe the expectations were set as.
Yeah, it's hard not to compare Marvel. Part of the issue with the disappointment is Marvel has themselves set the bar so high for what a Marvel Hall H panel can be. This wasn't in the top 3. That doesn't mean it's a terrible panel or anything.
It's not bottom 3 either.
It's not bottom 3 either. It's in the meaty part of the curve, which is fine. By definition, that's where most things land up. Or wind up, I should say. But I think to the reveal of RDJ as Doom is certainly top 3. The Fantastic Car flying in, which might have been, that was last year, was the Fantastic Car flying in, right?
I think so.
These are moments that you can really only kind of pull off in person. They feel like the reason why you would go see a concert instead of just listening to the album at home. I don't know if Marvel had one of those moments this year.
I guess it was sort of the fact that they had the entire cast on stage and people could see them and be like, "Whoa, it's them!" and they walk through the crowd. But otherwise, not the caliber of RDJ reveal. That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy.
Now I also want to talk about Black Panther 3.
Yeah.
Black Panther 2, obviously facing such an uphill battle with the death of Chadwick Boseman. All things considered, I think it handled it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Black Panther, I think Wakanda Forever was also saddled with a little bit of, shall we call it, growing pains of the MCU, where, any movie dealing with the loss of its star like that is going to lose so much time that would be spent on finessing the script, really nailing things down in production, that is then taken away from, and you kind of wind up having to make a movie and a half in one movie's time with one movie's budget. And so for all of my things I do not love as much about Wakanda Forever as I did about Black Panther, I got to kind of give it a pass.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of a Black Panther 3 getting to revisit that world and that corner of the MCU without having to kind of overcome the death of its star. I mean, knock on wood, hopefully David Johnson doesn't turn out to also have colon cancer, or whatever. But I'm really excited for Ryan Coogler, who is arguably operating now at the height of his powers, even more than he was coming off of Black Panther. I think after Sinners, I think Ryan Coogler got to do Sinners because of his success with Black Panther. And I think Sinners, although it wasn't my favorite movie, I think it's hard to deny it was like a pretty pivotal moment for Ryan Coogler in his career.
100%.
Now he gets to bring that clout with him back to Black Panther. I'm really excited to see what that movie winds up being, and I'm really stoked that we already have a release date for it.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
And also, I think a very underrated part of the announcement that revealed a lot on what the MCU plans to do in the future is the fact that this new T'Challa is actually T'Challa Jr. grown up. And because this is happening post Secret Wars, there's a lot of implications of what that means for the greater MCU, because the T'Challa Jr. we know now is a tiny little kid.
A little cute kid.
And the time between Black Panther 2 and Secret Wars, I don't think it's going to be very vast. And so I think there is going to be some sort of weird time skip thing happening. It may be in Secret Wars or between Secret Wars and the new MCU.
It's like, we get 5 years right at the beginning of Endgame.
Yeah.
I think that whatever happens, Marvel is clearly going for an Infinity Endgame, play with Doomsday Secret Wars.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be some kind of 5-10 year jump. If not a 5-10 year jump, then just time works differently on Battleworld than it does, than it does back on Earth or whatever. But I have not seen The Long Walk, which people are really raving about, and I want to see now. But David Johnson in Alien Romulus gave us such a different version of a cyborg, and he played this literally non-human character with such humanity, that I'm really curious to see him step into a hero role. Something Chadwick Boseman did really well as T'Challa was to bring this kind of heavy as the head that wears the crown, almost Shakespearean gravitas towards it.
Yeah.
He really, both Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa, the character, took the mantle of Black Panther and everything that it meant to the people of Wakanda, to Marvel fans, really seriously. And I don't know. It's way too early in the franchise to say whether or not the role of Black Panther becomes like a Batman or a Spider-Man or a James Bond thing where, we see every generation a sort of new person ascend to the throne there. But the announcement at Comic-Con, I think, made me feel like maybe we will. And I think that would be really great if that wound up being true.
What I'm also really excited about Black Panther 3 in particular is that I think the story that they're going to tell in the movie and the meta narrative of what's happening with Black Panther is going to coincide in a way that's going to be really interesting. Because I think specifically because it's T'Challa Jr. and not just a reboot, there is like a narrative of having to live up to the expectations of your father. T'Challa in particular was beloved within the MCU, within Wakanda, and Chadwick Boseman was beloved by the people in the real world. And it's like, how do you live up to that kind of expectation as the heir to that?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. And because that meta narrative and in-universe narrative are going to kind of coincide, I think the potential of a really interesting story can be told here. And I'm far more excited for Black Panther 3 than I think I was for Black Panther 2.
Yeah, me too. But again, I really hope I'm not coming off as being too critical of Black Panther 2 here. It's just difficult when you're excited to see Chadwick Boseman come back and then he passes. Yeah. And like I think Letitia Wright is great as Shuri. I really do. But fundamentally, she's not the person I was excited to return to Wakanda for.
For sure.
And that's difficult. That's not her fault. That's not anybody's fault. If anything, that's on me.
If you don't like a movie, it's your fault.
I mean, truly though, it's like everybody comes into a movie with their own expectations, and like, you know, I don't think it's 1,000% on the audience to manage their expectations accordingly. You can come
Sure.
to a movie with whatever baggage or lack of baggage you want. But I'm saying for me personally with Wakanda Forever, I just thought, you know, from the jump in Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman's "I Never Freeze,"
Dude.
and then landing and being like, "Oh, hi," you're like, "This guy
Yeah.
rules." This is
Dude,
you know, like
I never, dude.
I
The moment that
never
happened,
freeze, and then just "Oh, hi" is so good. It's so good, you know. So, but those are big shoes to fill.
Yes,
you know, and I
exactly.
never had.
exactly.
For as humanizing of a moment as that was for the character of T'Challa, I never had that same moment with Shuri. Maybe a little bit the way in which, you know, she like doesn't care about tradition and is like wearing
Right.
sneakers and like, you know, I'm like, yeah, I get that. But kind of more in the way that it didn't feel quite as unique to me.
Sure.
It was like, yeah, I get that. I like this character.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like as central to the story. And so I didn't have as central of a reaction. And I hope that without having to navigate around a major death in your cast, Ryan Coogler is able to recapture some of what I love so much about that first Black Panther movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Kevin Feige, hot or not?
Hot or not?
Hot or
Kevin
not?
Feige?
Would you smash YN
Would
Kevin
I
Feige?
smash Kevin Feige?
Kevin Feige shows up at your house. He says, he's wearing okay, all right, here's this. I had too much coffee today. That's why okay, here's the scenario.
Okay.
And everybody at home, sound off in the comments what you would do if this happened to you. Kevin Feige shows up to your house. He's wearing a baseball cap with your face on it, embroidered.
That's-
Okay? And he says, "This is a little bit weird. I didn't know the right way to tell you. Are you interested in being in a relationship with me? It can be physical, it can be platonic." You know, it's kind of up to you. Kevin
Okay.
Feige's not putting any pressure on you. He's not
Right.
being a creep.
Right.
He's being vulnerable. But
Wow.
he's coming to just being a little bit like open and raw.
Right.
His heart's on the table. What do you do?
He's wanted this for so long. And
Yeah.
He's finally reaching out.
Yeah.
It took a lot of courage. Kevin Feige, I will say, I think he's the type of guy who he knows what he's doing. He has the big picture, and I'm sure if we had a life together, he would have everything planned out.
Yeah.
And he'd be great at it. But I gotta say, not smash.
Not
gonna smash.
Not smash. Yeah.
I don't know. Kevin Feige. I don't got the hots for Kevin Feige. I don't know if it's a hot take, but I don't got the hots for him.
Not hot's take.
Not a hot take. Not a hot take. But if I think I would be, if he asked me straight up, I would be stun locked for sure. I'd be like,
Yeah.
Maybe I just say yes because it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So, all right. So there's the Kevin Feige, putting his heart on the table, laying it all on the line. Brian says, "Hey, I respect you. Thank you so much for being open with me, but no thanks. Let's just stay friends." But for the story, I don't know I think if I were younger, I would sleep with Kevin Feige for the story.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Just
now
for a
that I'm
story to be
older, I'm
told.
like, that's not fair to Kevin Feige. That's not cool. I don't
Right,
want to
you
be
don't
that
have to toy
guy.
with his feelings.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
not fair. This
Yeah.
guy's coming to you. He's putting his heart on the
Yeah.
table. I would be like, "Hey, man, you know what? I really respect it. I'm married and very happy in my relationship. If you're willing to be friends, let's hang out. Let's
hang
vibe.
out.
Let's see if there's let's have a cigar or something. You know, like."
No.
But I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I can. I don't think I could.
Sorry, Kevin.
Sorry,
It's
Kevin.
a not smash from both of us.
Now, here's the other thing, though. If
Okay.
Kevin Feige shows up to my house and he's got my face embroidered on his hat, is that a red flag? That's a little bit of a red flag.
I think that's actually a lot of bit of a red flag. That's crazy. That's a thing a crazy person would do. I don't think, even if I did that to a person, if in the dating phase of my fiance,
Yeah.
I showed up with her face on my hat,
Yeah.
I think it would have been over immediately.
It's a little bit in Succession when the guy's like, "Yeah, I've been sending her frozen vials of my blood," and
Yeah.
Shiv's like, "Well, don't do that." You know,
It's
like,
too much. Too
Okay.
much, too fast.
okay, so these are our takeaways from Marvel's Hall H panel. Excited about Ghost Rider. Excited about Black Panther 3. would not smash Kevin
not
Feige,
smash.
but appreciate the honesty and the courage it took to open us up to us about it.
He has a beautiful soul.
He's a beautiful soul.
He has a beautiful
He's
soul.
a beautiful soul.
I mean, why don't we get also to like, I know we don't have footage of it now, but I mean, they did show a new Doomsday trailer for the people on
Yes,
the
yeah, we
stage.
absolutely should talk about that. So, so Eric and Jess were in Hall H when they showed the Doomsday trailer. I believe it's currently live on the channel. Eric did a breakdown of what he saw.
Yes.
We don't have any footage of the trailer because it hasn't been released publicly yet, but Eric certainly talking about what he saw in the trailer and what it means. Definitely worth a watch. I watched the leaked version that's popped up on Twitter seemingly before the trailer even aired in Hall H. It's dark. They're clearly going for like all hope is lost. It's a really dark trailer.
Yeah.
And like Marvel dark, it's not, it's not zone of interest dark. But I like it. I want Marvel to take more swings like that, and I think as a franchise, the MCU is now almost 20 years old. I think it's time they started taking bigger swings like that.
For sure. And I think generally, like, Doomsday seems to be dark from the get.
Yeah.
Like, it's universes, we're gonna die. And also in the new trailer, there's a whole thing with Reed Richards being like,
did
what
you
have you
do
done?
this?
Did you do
Yeah.
this? It's like a really like horrific.
Reed seems
horrific.
horrified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because even in Infinity War, even though it ended pretty dark in that they lost and like half the people got dusted away, the movie itself wasn't like super dark the whole way through. It was just like heroes trying to fight against the villain.
Yeah.
And they're going together, and then it didn't work.
Yeah, Endgame starts out pretty dark.
Yeah, right.
And then it's like time heist and it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's America's
It's a little,
ass. And, yeah.
Exactly. But this movie seems like it's going to take a darker tone from the get and maintain that throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Which is going to be an interesting to see how that like pans out.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about Clayface and how DC seems a little bit more willing to experiment with tone. Marvel kind of has a house style. That house style was really set in place largely by Joss Whedon with like, the quips and thwips, even though I guess at that point Spider-Man was with Sony, but and then the Russo brothers, I think, really did a good job, being like, well, we're going to anchor the sort of socio-political stakes of the Marvel universe, how heroes factor into everyday life, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm excited for Doomsday. Now that Odyssey has come and gone and left me cold. Now, I'd say Brand New Day is the thing I'm most excited for right now. But Doomsday is a pretty close second. And the more that Marvel leans into a non-Marvel tone with Doomsday, the more excited for it I will be. Which feels a little bit dissonant, I guess, but it's the same way in that, like, I'm really excited for Clayface because I don't know how that fits in. I was really excited for Penguin because it just felt like a good story that happened to work within the MCU. Andor happened to feel like an incredible political parable about rising fascism that happened to fit within Star Wars. Doomsday is a big team-up movie. It's not trying to fit in with the MCU. It is the MCU. That's the shared part of the cinematic universe is movies like Doomsday. That shouldn't mean that movies like Doomsday can't have their own tone and feel. And the second trailer made me think maybe it will.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. I think I saw there's discourse online about whether or not Doom has the same level of buildup as Thanos. Yeah. And whether or not this will lead to a more satisfying story. But I think I forget if this was Feige specifically, but there was like an article, I think maybe Feige was speaking on how Thanos wasn't really built up necessarily either. He was here and there in like post-credit scenes, but he largely just showed up in Infinity War as is.
Having rewatched a lot of those movies recently, that is true. Yeah. And even in Infinity War, they're like, Doom already has one of the stones. Thanos already has one of the stones,
And so I actually think it's probably not going to be that big of an issue that there was no 20-year buildup or whatever.
No.
But what I did find interesting is with the second trailer, it kind of gave the vibe to me that this is almost a Fantastic Four sequel.
Yeah.
It's really focusing on the relationship between, the Fantastic Four, specifically Reed Richard and Doom, because the narrator who talks about Doom in the beginning is Sue.
Yeah.
And she talks about how he used to have such he was so kind and nice, and something broke, and now he's a different person. And Reed, how he's like so desperately talking to Doom, and because the Fantastic Four was so new, I think it works in their favor for this to be kind of like their sequel.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that with Thanos, there was a lot of buildup to Thanos, and there wasn't. Like, there was arguably more buildup to the first Avengers movie and the concept of having a team.
Right.
And that carried through to Civil War, when you see that team dissolved. And then part of the buildup with Infinity War was like, oh, we're going to have to get the team back together.
Yeah.
And so Thanos did have a little bit more buildup than Doom, but I do agree that he was kind of like here and there in a few. The buildup, I think, is a little bit of we constructed in retrospect. That doesn't make it any less real.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit there. Like, if you're watching at home right now, pull up a second device, go Google Gestalt psychology, and look up one of these diagrams that's like, they have these diagrams. It's like 3 circles, and there's like a floating triangle in the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But there's not actually any triangle. Like, you go look at it, there's not a triangle. You're filling in a triangle, but really, there's not even any circles. There's 3 like round things with a pie shape taken out.
Sure.
And you fill the triangle in. I think a lot of us filled in this huge buildup to Doom. There was buildup, but not quite as much as we filled in.
Right.
Or a huge buildup to Thanos. My God, I keep going back and forth. With Doom, there is buildup. Like we saw him in the end credits of Fantastic Four.
True.
We've known of who he is for a while. Yada yada yada. But fundamentally, does there need to be this much buildup for the movie to work? I don't know. You watch the first X-Men movie in 97, 98.
Right.
We have a team. We have Magneto. We have a global threat.
Right.
Works on its own. You watch Independence Day, it's like we have aliens, we have a global threat, works on its own. So I think really what's going to make Doomsday work is not everything that came before Doomsday. It's going to be Doomsday.
Yeah.
All that buildup for Infinity War and Endgame wouldn't have worked if Infinity War sucked.
Right.
100%, and so
100%.
If Doomsday is good, you won't notice the lack of buildup. If it's bad, the lack of buildup might be one of the things that people say, like, well, they didn't set it up right. But fundamentally, any movie, part of a shared cinematic universe or not, has to stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
The Odyssey had 3,000 years of buildup. It still didn't work for me.
Right. 100%.
Like, if 3,000 years isn't enough, I don't know if another Fantastic Four movie is going to be the thing we need, you know?
And I guess Doom also has like a more, like in pop culture, we have this idea of what Doom is.
I think
stuff like that.
I think for the casual comics fan, Doom is a much more known quantity than Thanos was.
For sure. Thanos, even in the comics, Thanos was just like a guy who wanted to fall in love with death, and it's like a whole weird thing going on that's happening. But Doom is a much more like, I mean, it's just the idea of Doom is also in so much other subcultures in the internet, I think, as well. That I think it'll work out. Yeah,
I think so too. Okay, so here's the real question. Victor Von Doom shows up at your house wearing a metal mask.
Yes.
With you smash?
I'm smashing Dr. Doom immediately. No questions asked. He just has to say the word, and I'm on it.
All right, so that's a no for smashing Feige, and it's
Feige.
a yes, smash Doom.
100%.
Okay, great. Okay, I think that's pretty much all the big.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a couple other things that came out of Comic-Con. I'm very excited for the second season of Common Side Effects. Which had a trailer. Adult Swim kind of stealthily dropped a trailer. I don't even know if they did a panel or whatever for it. But if you haven't seen Common Side Effects, go watch it. It's so goddamn good. Also, I believe it's premiered at this point, but President Curtis, the Rick and Morty spinoff, had a panel at Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah.
Where they showed some stuff, and I think the Rick and Morty, if it didn't come out last night, the Rick and Morty finale that leads into President Curtis comes out tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Which if you like Keith David, go like and support.
And who doesn't?
Who doesn't like Keith David? Who doesn't like Keith David? But yeah, I mean, I think overall, in terms of Comic-Cons, this felt like it didn't feel quite as impactful to me as some past Comic-Cons have. I don't know how much of that is me judging it against the bar of those past Comic-Cons. Sure. But I am excited for the stuff coming out of it. I think the thing I'm most excited about was the Lanterns trailer, honestly.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. I'm excited. I think overall it was a pretty decent Comic-Con. I feel like there's definitely been worse. But everything it just seems like, you know what, the train is just keeps going, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like the momentum is stopping. There weren't like huge showstoppers, but I'm just glad to see that like they're still chugging along.
You know what it is I think this is the difference for me with Comic-Con 2026 versus previous Comic-Cons. In previous Comic-Cons, I feel like I saw Marvel and DC really planting their flag and claiming their turf and, doing the Babe Ruth, point for the fence kind of a thing. Both played it safe this year. James Gunn wasn't there. They weren't making any big pronouncements about the future of DC. Marvel's doing like, they're announcing 2 new movies, but that's not the same as Kevin Feige going like, here's our phase list. It felt a little bit like we're playing it safe, which isn't disappointing, but it's also not as exciting.
That's true. I guess I didn't realize until you said it right now. Like, it used to be a bit more of a war between the big titans, like DC and Marvel. Like, we're fighting for who has the cultural moment at Comic-Con.
It used to feel a little bit like the old console wars did.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Exactly.
And all
it's like
that sort of
DC
stuff.
versus Marvel.
Yes.
But I think because both of them are taking it safe, it is just more like it's Comic-Con.
Yes. Yeah. It felt a little bit just. Sometimes you have a meal and you're like, that was one of the best meals I've ever had. And sometimes you have a meal and you're like, I don't know what happened, but my stomach's bothering me.
Sure.
But most of your meals, you're just like, yeah, that was lunch.
Yeah.
That was
food.
lunch.
It nourished me.
Yeah.
I
was nourished.
Yeah, exactly.
I was nourished. Okay. Well, I know this is 2 weeks in a row now. We've not had time to talk about X-Men 97. Last week, because the studio had other stuff to record. This week, because I need to go to an airport.
Yeah. Yeah.
But real quick, I will say X-Men 97 continues to kick ass. I continue to be really impressed by how much things matter and have weight and how much the characters are bothered by things. I think the most recent episode with Polaris and the Danger Room felt like a lunch.
Sure.
Like it didn't have the highs or the lows of the earlier half of the season, but certainly was still great and still good. And I'm hoping that next week we will have, next week we're going to be talking about Spider-Man, I guess.
Oh, true.
Oh, you know what? I can't even see Spider-Man until after we tape next week.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, because my stupid family is coming out to spend time with me because we love each other. Oh my God,
stupid family.
But my dad and my nephew both really want to see Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, sure.
And we can't go see it until Tuesday night just because of other stuff they have going on while they're here.
Sure.
And so like, I'm not gonna go. I would go see it by myself, but I'm not gonna go see it by myself if it means not hanging out with them for like the 3 days they're in LA.
Right.
So I can't see Spider-Man until Tuesday morning. And I'm going to have the entire movie spoiled for me by 10 a.m. Friday morning
100%.
just from having to like work here,
100%.
like.
Which is, the only reason why I watch movies early now is like I work here. I have to.
Yeah, I know. Man, that's so frustrating. Yeah, so I guess next week I won't be able to talk about Spider-Man. I'll be able to pick your brain about it if you've seen it already.
I'm planning to.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Maybe you can be the guy who spoils it for me.
It's true. You're right. I just like spoil the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else that we didn't get to today that is top of mind for you that you want to get to before we sign off?
Currently, I don't think so. Other than thank you guys as usual for watching and play Splatoon Raiders.
Yeah, go check it out. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been the Break Room. We will be back next week. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video. And please, to all of you who have been commenting, thank you. I'm doing my best to get in there and respond to as many of you as I can, which sometimes is just me going, hey, I feel the same way. But please comment down. We'll try to keep the conversation going after the video is published. Give us a follow on Twitch where we do these videos live. Not today because we're short-staffed, but what can you do? Whenever we can. If you want to support us directly, consider buying some merch from nerdriot.shop. Buying a tee from nerdriot.shop is one of the best ways to support the channel. If you've already got a tee, show it off, tag us on socials. Brian's in there all the time. So hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, or Threads at Breakroom NR, where we're also posting little clips from this show so you can get a little dose of Breakroom in the middle of your week.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.